Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We are on the final stretch of this 6.4 Powerstroke and the reassembly of the entire engine bay. We got a lot to do and a lot of ground to cover, so let's dive right into it. So we got a few more things we got to tackle on this thing before we can start putting it back together. We got a good stack of Motorcraft parts here. Let me show you what we got. So we'll start off with the basics. Got a new exhaust back pressure sensor because I wasn't reading anything. We have an oil filter and our fuel filters. I already put the frame one in a few weeks ago. And then diving into the main part of this weekend. First things first, we got our new brake booster. Looking really nice. The original one has been leaking like crazy. It got the whole frame covered. That's why I've been a greasy mess every time I worked behind the engine. The leaky brake booster mixed with the leaky exhaust manifold made this whole area disgusting. So this is gonna be really, really nice to replace. After we get that done, we're moving on to the coolant hoses. This is an upgraded coolant hose kit. They updated the coolant hoses after these trucks have experienced cavitation issues like mine had. And the main fix is double O-rings, which is actually double O-rings on the engine side, not the radiator side. Included in that kit, we got 2 new thermostats and our new radiator cap for our degas bottle. And if you guys haven't noticed, with the amount of Motorcraft and factory Ford parts I had on this week's episode and last week's episode, we are very, very beyond budget on this truck. I have blown the budget, surpassed and then some. We won't get into like the full cost on this quite yet, but just know I'm pretty deep. So if this thing doesn't turn out to be a solid truck, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt real bad. So fingers crossed that this is a good truck. With that being said, we got a lot of ground we got to cover this weekend. Let's dive right into getting this brake booster out. Okay, so here's what we're working with here. We got 4 bolts on the inside of the firewall and then the connector to the brake pedal. Let me try and show you guys what I got going on down here. It's really tight. So you guys can kind of see there's 2 of the bolts here and right above there. Come on, camera, focus on this. And then you can see the shaft as well. And then if we can you can see that yellow thing. That's where the brake connector, that little shaft part goes to. So I gotta figure out how to disconnect that, pop it off, and then we'll just take the 4 bolts out and it should pop right out. All right, that was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. I popped this panel off for some more access. I had to pop this little cover off. It's supposed to come off with these 2 fingers right here, but I kind of just pried it off and it popped out. Then I had to take the clip out, and then I slid the brake switch off, and then got the rod out and disconnected. And then I was able to get the 4 nuts off with a few choice extensions, 2 wobbles on the end here for maximum flex and limpness, you know. So 4 bolts are out. This thing's ready to come out. Let's try and take this thing out one-handed. Let me just get a weight check here. It's pretty heavy. Not too bad though. Oh, yep. So you can see this thing, I'm not even gonna put it on the bench. It doesn't even deserve to be on the bench. This thing is filthy. So we got to swap these lines onto the new unit and slap the new unit in. Alrighty, we got everything hooked back up, all good to go. I don't have my light with me. I did not put this clip back on. I don't really see the point in it. And I kind of started fighting with it and I was like, whatever, who cares? So now we can start putting this corner back together. We gotta get this back on. I'm gonna try and clean some of the gunk off of this first. Gotta hook up some hoses, some lines, pair of steering lines, electrical connectors. I'm gonna start hooking this thing up from here back, and then we can start focusing on the front end of things. Okay, we got the hoses hooked up. We got our chassis to cab connectors hooked up. One thing I've been doing with like every single connector is hitting it with this QD electronic cleaner. I actually ran out of this and I've just been using MAF cleaner. I think it's kind of the same thing. And I've been hitting dielectric grease around the outsides of the plastic because pretty much every connector I've pulled is super dirty and gross. These ones I already kind of cleaned up, but you can kind of see they're just nasty. So trying to clean up the connections and then grease them up so they clip in easier, because a lot of these were a pain to get out. So that grease goes a long way. Alrighty, got this whole side buttoned up. We got there's like a vent hose that goes off the brake booster that returns to the power steering reservoir. I cleaned up the brake reservoir, put the new radiator hoses in. I should have filmed that because the clicks on that were super satisfying, these little locking clips. That was super satisfying. And we got this side pretty much all hooked up as well. I think we're ready to put the clutch fan on, which feels crazy because it just feels like we're missing some stuff, but let's get this thing on. Clutch fan is installed. I can't believe we're at this point now. I don't know, it's a weird sight to see, but it's pretty late tonight. There's still a lot we gotta do. So let's fast forward to tomorrow. All right guys, we are ready to slap the radiator in. I hope we got everything. I hope we don't have to pull this thing back out again because it's heavy and awkward, but I think we're good. I looked back at my old video, got the intercooler pipe back in on the passenger side. I think it's routed correctly. It looks right. I think we just need to get this radiator in. It's gonna, again, it's heavy and awkward. It kind of dropped last time. So we have to also hook up these like hoses and stuff here. They're kind of part of that, but we'll do it kind of in stages. So let's see what happens. Okay. There we go. All right guys, we are so close on this. I'm a little excited and a little nervous. Like I'm trying to like make sure I'm taking my time on this. So the main thing that we gotta really tackle is this corner here. The driver's side is there's a lot going on down here. We have the fuel cooler assembly and like a little connector down here. And then we have the power steering reservoir along with other hoses that need to get hooked up here. So I'm gonna spend some time over here and then we can move on to this side. This side we have the intake, the other intercooler hose. I really think that's it. I kind of brought all the parts over here with me instead of having them sit on the tailgate, just so I can like visualize and go, okay, I need to bring that, I need to get that, I need to get that. We're looking pretty good. Yeah, let's just keep diving into it. There's actually one thing I want to tackle before we go any further, and that is the dent in this fender. So it's dented here, it kind of overlaps on the hood, and it also is bent where the headlight housing goes. So I'm gonna try and straighten this out a little bit. I am not a bodywork guy. I despise bodywork. I'm not good at it at all. So I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I might make it worse, but if I can get at least a headlight in there to not sit so crooked, that'll make me feel a lot better about it, because the crooked headlight was driving me crazy. That's why I took it out, because I just was tired of looking at it. Yeah, let's bang that around a little bit and see what we can do. All right. We actually got that pretty lined up. It's a lot better. I should have done some good before and afters. It kind of just started beating on it. Started beating on this bracket. Got it in pretty well. I mean, obviously there's still, this was like a creased dent, so there's still like dents on the outside, but body line wise and headlight bracket wise, I think we're good. I don't have a new headlight to test, so I don't really know. But when you close the hood, we're a lot better. Obviously it's still crooked, but this like whole piece used to be under there, like 1/4 inch to like a half. It was like that. So I'm happy with that. We'll rock that. All right, beating this thing up was fun. Let's get some lines hooked up on this side now. Holy shit, guys, the whole front end's back on. It looks like a truck again. Well, not the whole front end. We got the intercooler and we got the fuel cooler, radiator, but man, this went together super fast. It's crazy. All that's left is battery trays, intake, battery tray, and then degas bottle, and we're done. This is crazy. So now I gotta go buy a bunch of fluids. This thing needs pretty much every fluid besides brake fluid, but we might be able to start, we're gonna start this thing today. It's like not even 2 o'clock on Saturday, so nothing's really stopping me at this point. That's insane. I can't believe how fast that went together. So I'm excited. I'm getting a little antsy and a little nervous, very nervous. Sick though, exciting stuff. I'm gonna go take a lunch break and then we'll dive back into this. Alrighty guys, we did it. The engine bay is pretty much entirely put back together. I am super excited. We gotta put the batteries in, and then underneath the truck, we gotta hook up the transmission shifter and the transmission cooler lines. I spent quite a bit of time getting the original trans cooler lines disconnected from this little union here. That was a super big pain, but we gotta hook this up to the rest of the transmission cooler. But since the original transmission had a bunch of sparklies in it, I want to flush out the coolers on this before I hook it up to the system. So we're gonna pump it full of transmission fluid, and once it pumps clean, then tie it into the rest of the system. We also gotta do a transmission filter on the used transmission we got, and do an oil filter and fuel filter in the engine bay. Yeah, just fill up all the systems. We gotta prime the fuel system again, which might be a bit of a pain in the ass, but we'll get there. We gotta fill up the fluids first. I went to the stores and got all of the fluids we need. This hurt. This was a lot of money. I got some Final Charge antifreeze. This is pretty good stuff. It's not green coolant. Meets or performs the requirements of CAT EC1, which is what everyone recommends to run anyways. So good stuff. You can get it at Walmart for like 15 bucks a bottle. Bought some cheap diesel oil because I want to do a very fast oil change on this thing. And then power steering fluid, and then a whole 5-gallon bucket of ATF. So this will fill up the transfer case and the transmission, and then hopefully I don't need any more. All right, we got the oil filled up, power steering topped off, coolant topped off, fuel coolers topped off. Now we can move on to the transmission. So we're gonna clean out the transmission coolers because it might have some debris in there. So we just got it pumped up. We're gonna pump it in and then run it through until we see some cleaner fluid coming out. Then we'll hook up the hoses and go underneath the truck. Alrighty, y'all, we got the pan dropped. I just cleaned it out. It looks really, really good. There was not a lot of stuff on the magnet. There was some, but it's an automatic that had almost 200,000 miles on it. Everything underneath, all the whole valve body and everything above was really, really clean. So Really happy with the condition of the transmission, but unfortunately, I got the filter pulled out. This is the filter that came out of it, the factory Ford filter. It's super thick. It has a full-on filter element in here. Really nice. And this cheap old Powerstroke one, this is the one I bought. It's super thin. There's no element, and it's just a screen. I am not gonna run this. This is junk. So I should have bought the more expensive one. I don't even know if the Wix is going to be any better. I might have to buy a factory Ford one. I'm not happy with this at all. Gasket's just a thin rubber one, and the factory Ford gasket is like metal braced and like pretty damn stiff. Yeah, we're at a standstill tonight because I refuse to run this filter. So we're gonna try and find a better one tomorrow on a Sunday.
Tomorrow.
Alrighty, we got a new trans filter, got a nice Motorcraft one with the proper filtration and not just a little weak ass thing. So this will actually keep my transmission alive. We're gonna drop it in, get the transmission and transfer case filled up, and then we're gonna try and start this thing. So I'm just gonna knock that out. We'll get this thing cranked.
A few moments later.
Okay, so not so good news. Started filling the transmission and I discovered there's a little hole in my dipstick, so it's leaking out and it's also causing a potential for contaminants to get into. So I'm gonna take the dipstick off the old transmission and try and swap it out.
More moments later.
All right, dipstick tube swap went pretty damn painless. I was pretty impressed with how simple that was. Let me show you the hole. Yeah, it was cut with the cutoff wheel. I don't think I did that. I think that was from the used transmission when the dude was just cutting shit to get it out of his way. I'm glad we avoided running that because that would have been pretty bad. So let's slap this intake in, slap some batteries in, and go through the start sequence on this thing. Okay, we are gonna drop the batteries in and start priming the fuel system. I messed with the fuel system quite a bit with replacing fuel filters, and I took the fuel cooler off to inspect the rockers. So the high pressure side is also discharged. I don't have any special tools right now to try and get it primed. So we're just gonna cycle the key a whole bunch and hit that Schrader valve and try and get some air out. Hopefully that does it, but let's drop some batteries in. This thing's got the factory remote start on it, which also doubles as a weird security system. So as soon as I drop batteries in it, the car alarm's gonna go off, so. Oh, good news, car alarm's not going off. Okay, I'm gonna go get my edge out of my OBS so I can monitor some stuff, and then we'll get going. Okay, I'm just gonna get this thing started. I just realized I don't have the front drive line in, so we can't drive it, which might not be good for the transmission, because I need to check the fluid in the transmission. But we'll get there once we actually start the thing. Oh, the alarm's going off now. There's a lot of lights on the dash. We got a coolant light, we got an oil light, we got a fuel light. I think I'm missing a chassis connector or something. We got a traction control light, 4 lows flashing. It says the driver door is open. Check engine light, airbag light, ABS light. Looks like we have an immobilizer light. Just cycling the key. Every time I hear the fuel pump stop running. I don't have a glow plug light either. Okay, cycle the fuel pump one more time, and then while that fuel pump's running, I'm going to open the Schrader valve. All right, now we're gonna prime the pump 4 to 5 times again, and then spray it again. Come on. Okay, that's a lot less air. I guess let's try and crank it. I have no glow plug light. I have an immobilizer light. I have a few lights. I have a feeling it's not gonna let. We'll at least see if the starter will bump and go from there. Nope, we got nothing. Well, that was a bummer. I was hoping this thing was gonna start this weekend, but my weekend's over. I have, it's Sunday evening and I still gotta do a bunch of household shit and edit this video and get it out, so. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to call it here. I really didn't want to, but that's all right. It'll give us a whole weekend to do troubleshooting and figure it out. So next weekend it'll be registered and it'll be insured and I'll have a rear drive line. So if we can drive it out of the shop, we'll actually go drive it and that'll be cool. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.